Welcome to the Explainer. Today we're diving deep into a type of surveillance that is, frankly, pretty unsettling. We're going to explore a terrifying, totally invisible threat that operates entirely in the shadows of the very infrastructure we all rely on to communicate globally. It's high stakes, it's hidden, and honestly, it affects almost every single person walking around with a mobile phone right now. So here's the core question driving today's briefing. Can your phone actually be spied on? Meaning, can your location be tracked and your calls intercepted without it ever being hacked in the traditional sense? The terrifying answer? Yeah, it absolutely can. And the craziest part is it requires literally 0 clicks from you and it leaves absolutely 0 trace on your actual device. None. All right, let's just get right into it. Here's our threat analysis briefing menu for today. We'll start off with the invisible network threat. Then we'll unpack the decades-old SS7 backdoor. From there, we'll look at a global surveillance commodity before giving you your practical defense plan, and finally, zooming out to the two-front privacy war. Let's kick things off with Section 1, the invisible network threat, or as I like to think of it, the ghost in the global grid. Look, when most of us think about phone spying, we immediately picture malicious software getting onto our actual phones, like the infamous Pegasus spyware on the left here. Think of Pegasus like a highly targeted surgical missile. It goes after a specific phone, and usually it needs you to make a mistake, like clicking a shady link. But today, we're talking about a company called Circles, which is all about network exploitation on the right. This isn't a surgical strike, guys. This is a global dragnet. It requires 0 clicks and 0 mistakes from you. Why? Because it attacks the telecom network itself instead of your phone's software. To you, it's completely invisible. Moving right along to Section 2, the decades-old SS7 backdoor, which really is a foundation built on misplaced trust. So how in the world is 0-click tracking even possible? Well, at the very heart of this entire issue is something called SS7, or Signaling System Number 7. Let's strip away the tech jargon for a second. SS7 is basically the private global nervous system for every phone company on Earth. Developed way back in the 1970s, it's the invisible plumbing that lets carriers across the globe talk to each other, so your calls route correctly and your phone actually works when you travel. But here is the fatal flaw. SS7 was built entirely on a simple, unquestioning principle of absolute trust. It was designed in an era where there were really only a handful of state-run national phone companies, so there were absolutely 0 security checks built in to verify if a network request was actually legitimate. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. Well, that's tech from the 70s. Surely my brand new 5G phone is totally safe, right? Yeah, unfortunately, that's just not the case. Modern 4G and 5G networks are still totally vulnerable. They use an updated protocol called Diameter, but Diameter basically just inherited the exact same trust-based design flaws from SS7. And Circles, they openly market their tools for both protocols. So yeah, this is a very current, ongoing threat right this second. The way this attack works is shockingly simple. Check this out. Step 1, the attacker just sends a simple location query out onto the network. And get this, literally all they need to pull this off is your phone number. Step 2, that query zips right through the global system. Step 3, your home network gets it, and because the system is built on that flawed 1970s trust we just talked about, it blindly trusts the request, no questions asked. Finally, Step 4, your exact location data based on your closest cell tower is fired right back to the attacker instantly. The whole shebang happens in just a matter of seconds. All right, let's look at Section 3, a global surveillance commodity, or the spy-fi reality. We've covered the technical how, but now we really need to look at the global who. Just let this number sink in for a second. 25. According to some truly landmark research by the Citizen Lab, at least 25 countries have likely deployed this surveillance tech from Circles. Think about that. This proves that network exploitation isn't just some niche trick used by a single rogue actor. It is a massive, incredibly widespread, heavily traded global intelligence commodity. And the research actually gets incredibly specific regarding how this is deployed in the real world by global intelligence agencies, police forces, and navies. I mean, look at these leaked code names. In Botswana, we have a system dubbed Bentley Boulevard. Over in Chile, it's Cadillac Polaris. Mexico operates Mercedes Ventura, and Thailand has a system they just called Toyota. These spy-fi code names give us this really chilling peek behind the curtain at how these incredibly powerful tools are bought, sold, and branded by governments worldwide. Now, the absolute crucial point here is understanding the true worst-case scenario. Listen to this direct quote from the Citizen Lab. These commands allow the attacker to track the victim's location and intercept voice calls and SMS text messages. I really want you to think about the implications of that for a second. The exact same network flaws used to find your location can be used to literally copy your text messages out of thin air. This means attackers can completely bypass traditional two-factor authentication simply by intercepting that little security code your bank texts you. It's wild. Let's move on to Section 4, your practical defense plan. Let's talk about locking down your digital life. Okay, I know that is a whole lot of intense threat analysis to take in at once. Take a breath. Let's pivot to some empowering, actionable steps you can actually take right now to protect yourself. First up, we have to talk about the everyday habits that are now major liabilities. Here are the high-risk practices you literally need to stop right now. Number 1, using SMS for your two-factor authentication. Since we now know SMS text can be easily intercepted, it's a massive risk. You also really need to stop relying on standard carrier phone calls and standard unencrypted SMS texts for any sensitive communications whatsoever. Moving forward, you just have to operate under the assumption that these traditional methods are simply not secure. So what do you do instead? Well, instead of insecure SMS two-factor authentication, you got to switch over to secure alternatives, like authenticator apps, which safely generate the codes locally right on your device. For your really critical accounts, physical keys like a YubiKey are absolutely the gold standard. And instead of those insecure carrier calls, you need to be using end-to-end encrypted apps like Signal or WhatsApp. What these apps do is create a secure, locked tunnel straight through the network. So even if an attacker manages to intercept your data using that old SS7 flaw, all they're going to get is scrambled, completely unreadable garbage. Your actual conversations stay totally safe. Now, for those of you who might be operating in higher risk environments, say you're a journalist or an activist, here are a few advanced precautions. First, start using temporary burner numbers for sensitive work so you can compartmentalize your digital identity. Second, and this is super important, if you need to go completely dark, you have to physically remove your SIM card. I repeat, just putting your phone in airplane mode is absolutely not enough to stop the network connection entirely. Your phone is still talking at the towers. And finally, become an advocate. Call up your mobile provider and demand they implement SS7 and diameter firewalls. Honestly, the more pressure they feel from us, the faster they'll fix these systemic problems. And that brings us to Section 5, the two-front privacy war, looking at the bigger picture. The hard truth here is this: the company Circles, they're merely a symptom. The actual disease is a much more massive, systemic problem with how our entire global communication grid is constructed. You are essentially fighting a privacy war on two completely different fronts right now. On one side, you've got device-level threats, things like spyware. You defend against those by keeping your security software updated and being really smart about what links you click. But on that other front, you have network-level threats, and you defend against those by using encrypted apps and ditching SMS completely. If you hyper-focus all your energy just on protecting your physical device, you're literally leaving the back gate to the global network wide open for attackers. You absolutely have to secure both. And that leaves us with one final, pretty profound question to chew on today. As a society, are we building our incredibly complex modern digital identities, our banking, our friendships, our life's work, on a fundamentally flawed 1970s foundation of misplaced trust?